Welcome back to the EMBC network, iHealth I mean, the BizWord channel. We're gonna just have some fun today with my guest because it is a topic that I enjoy, and that is the topic of artificial intelligence (AI). So, artificial intelligence is moving fast, but the real question is, how do we use it to enhance human connection rather than replace it? Today, we're joined by Peter Swimm, a conversational AI technologist who has helped build intelligent solutions actually for platforms like Microsoft Teams, Slack, and enterprise organizations, including Walmart and Rabobank. So it's a lot of work that my guest has done, and really he's going to bring us to this fantastic word that I enjoy personally. So through his work and his agency, Toilville, Peter focuses on using AI to support people, preserve expertise, and help organizations adapt in a rapidly changing world. Peter, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, it is a pleasure, man. And like I told you, AI is one of my favorite topics of the last year, if not a couple of years now. It is a world that is, I would say, not scary, but people have a tendency to misunderstand, I think. And but I love your angle because you kind of give it a personality, give it a
Mm,
whole different vibe. So before we go, so let's talk about your background, so at least people understand,
sure.
where you come from. Because are you an AI programmer? Are you a designer? What
Yeah,
is what is? Let's bring you to the audiences as the
sure.
expertise.
Sure. So I've been in tech for 30 years and I'm in my 40s, so do the math. And in that time, I've gone out, I started out in tech support and I worked my way up the product. And 10 years ago, I started getting into conversational AI and I had a startup that launched with a Slack API. And so since then, I started out with chatbots. And as AI got more sophisticated, my use cases got more sophisticated. I worked with Microsoft when they launched Copilot for the developer ecosystem. And for the last year or so, I've been doing consultancy at Toilville, kind of helping people not turn FOMO into FAFO.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, so you work with some of the big guys, and I mean, Copilot is a huge. I mean, it's like the standard one that's kind of like comes out, when you're doing some search. But so let's talk about the journey. AI is not really new. I mean, I've done some work on it. I mean, it's been around, but it just
Mm,
progressed to a point where now it's just learning faster and getting better and bigger and can do a lot more than what it was initially thought to just be able to do. And also it has been subject to a lot of sci-fi movies in the past, because it's like this mystical thing that's going to take us over. And you add to it robotics, the world is ending. I mean, we had Terminator we had a few
yeah,
other
yeah.
movies that depicted the worst case scenario. But in essence, AI is a lot more than that, and it kind of changes the dynamics of how we operate in this world. To me personally, I'm a big fan, because it is a tool that I use in my work. It has
Mm,
made my life a lot simpler, it's very efficient to a degree. Now, of course, it's not perfect. There's a lot of work to be still done, but again, the speed at which it is moving and growing, it's just going to change. But there is a big fear out there about it
mm,
because people are just not understanding it well enough, and they don't understand what it could do. I mean, obviously, it just even the people that actually kind of designed like ChatGPT and some of the basic AIs out there, they tell you like we have it. It's out there, and it's just going to keep learning and doing more and more. And is that even a real thing? So so
yeah,
so let's start there. What is, first of all, conversational AI? That's a
sure.
question.
So I think conversational AI is something that has kind of been lost as a concept because it's gotten so good. But I think conversational AI, from a philosophical standpoint, is the premise that people are more important than machines, right? And so when I tell a machine my problem, it should just know the best way to solve it. And so that's like the whole pitch of AI. It's like I'm going to pull the microphone to the internet and talk to it and say, I need to do X, Y with constraints, zeta, bed, whatever. And that obviously is not true. If you ever like had to like talk to your bank on the phone, we're a long way off from that. And so I try to tell my clients right away that like we were talking because we both agree that humans are more important than machines. And I think that solves a lot of problems because the next thing is machines can only solve machine problems. So machines can do things faster or more efficiently or grind things out, but they can't solve for things like social bias and inequity. And if your company has bad policies, it'll just do the bad policies faster and smarter. So, and I think the third thing that people need to be aware of is um, it's more important to know that people understand your position on things than for you to enforce the reason why you can't do it. And sometimes that is escalating to a person or getting them the contact or like, okay, this is not the only way to do things. And I think if you solve those three things, everything that people say bad about AI will be mitigated, if not eliminated. Because I think people, when they talk about AI slop, they're talking about lack consent. I'm seeing a bunch of ugly pictures that I don't like and dumb movies. And, like whenever I look for information about political candidates, there's a bunch of lies. And all that is because these tools are being used at scale to make junk that are not useful.
Well, it's amazing because you're right, and like for example, our basic introduction. I mean, you go to a website, you like to your point, you call. I mean, there's some AI action that takes place. There's a lot of robotic stuff now that's available, whether it's the from your chat, bots and so on and so forth. And you get some standard responses and things like that. Um, it's really it's not replacing the human factor. I still think that. Um, Talking to a human is a different level of talking to AI, although believe it or not, I mean I have personalized about 10 AIs that kind of work for me, and once they get to know you and your work and your company and the things you do, I mean they do kind of adapt to your stuff, and they become a little bit more personalized. And I can tell you, it sometimes I speak to it like it's actually a real human. It's going to sound funny that
Yeah.
way, but it does, because the responses, it kind of talks to you like, it calls me partner, because we're partners in some aspect of things, and this is like API kind of concept. But it is an interesting world. And so you worked with major platforms like Microsoft Teams and Slack, as I mentioned, right? But how are organizations really using AI today? Because people think maybe they're using them differently, because there's a lot of talk about your data is being taken, your information is taken, some of the platforms are taking our voice and our data, demographics, whatever we put out there, and they train in their AIs. Is that even a thing? And because there is that fear, and there's a lot of chatter about it in social media.
Well, I think like unless you've been off the internet for the last 10 years, you've been exposed to being source data for AI. So if you ever posted on Reddit, if you ever posted on Twitter, if you ever did a comment on CNN.com, someone scraped that somewhere and you're an AI. So is that you? Does someone have your soul captured in a machine? No, they just have something you wrote on a website making fun of the Kardashians or whatever it is. And so one, I think that part is like overstated, the casual scraping of personalities, because it's like too much data to be useful in the individual level of exposing who I am. Now, what gets dangerous is like when you have a very intimate relationship, like how much information do you currently have in Google Drive or OneDrive? And like it goes through systems that read stuff, and how do we keep that data from inadvertently going into the machine and ending up with the fake credit card number that the application makes is your real credit card number. And I think those are the kind of things of the find out moments a lot of people are going through right now with the terms AI. And a lot of the tooling we build is like if you work for a big company, they have all kinds of tooling to prevent their information from being leaked to the outside world. And this enterprise grade security is available to every Fortune 500 in the world. But me as an individual, I've had a credit card breach every year of my life for the last 20 years with all my personal information on the dark web. So how do we give that kind of enterprise? And that problem is like greater than AI, right? But AI makes that problem faster and more dangerous to control at scale.
Well, thank you. And so you did almost state, well, you stated something that maybe people will be like, "Whoa," being the idea that if we are out there and we have a footprint in the digital world, there is a good chance we use AI is using our information somehow.
Right.
And I think there are a lot of people that may be against that. And they probably will resist that as much as they can. But how can you even do that? I mean, frankly, the only way is you just get out of, social media, get out of the digital space, don't have any footprint, don't have any articles or anything that has attached to your name. And I think that's the only way you can literally be safe when it comes to that, which I don't think that's even possible today because, our data is available in a lot of ways, even though you check. I mean, you can go to a website and, you just cookies, accept this, and then now all of a sudden the information is out there. I mean, am I getting that picture right? I'm not a tech guy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
No, 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 no. Yeah. I mean, we're in a sea of data. Now, the thing is, like, can someone find my individual data in the ocean of data and like make a profile on me that like is good enough to impersonate me and do bad things? My grandma uh, gets phone calls from people pretending to be me. And so it doesn't sound like me because they don't have my voice cloned, but I do enough of these podcasts and they're going to be able to clone my voice, And so what do we do then? And so I think it's just kind of a matter of like always saying no as a start, but it's kind of like the genie's out of the bottle in a lot of ways. And that is when I say better for worse. That is like the for worse, and we have to find ways to relitigate that social contract of like what kind of information gets put out by us because if you're like me and been on the internet since the 90s, you could probably find very detailed information about where I lived and what I worked for and my credit scores and all that stuff from all the breaches and all the stuff I've been in.
I think that's everybody, not just you. I think
Yeah.
you Google somebody, I don't care who, you just put a name, you'll probably get you at least the basic, where they live, who's related to them, maybe even you pay $1 and you have all their phone number and everything. So it's not like it is almost impossible to disappear. I
Mm.
mean, you'll have to literally live in the forest and just disconnect with the whole world, and that's about it. And your information will still be there. I mean, maybe the next generation they don't have to start anything, and maybe they'll be off the grid. But at the end of the day, there is no way for it. As you said, there is actually that what you just mentioned. It's real and it's scary, and there's even some cybersecurity discussions about it and how to prevent it. Because I think even law enforcement have discussed this new thing where people actually take your voice and they can clone it. And now I know, for example, like HeyGen and some of the platforms that do have like voice generation and maybe like you have your avatars and your AI versions, they kind of do their due diligence where you have to have your own video and you have to have your own stuff, so it's you that is actually on the account. But I'm sure there are some people that can crack the code and easily kind of duplicate that system where it just doesn't require that, and they can just take any audio video from you and, hey mom, I need some money. And I've heard that actually being a real thing out there. So but also I know that some of the security folks will tell you you need to have some codes with your family that no one will know except you. And if they can't respond to that, then it's not the real thing. It's
Right,
fake.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. And I think a lot of it is just kind of like you got to look both ways before you cross the street, and you got to like use the safe word with your mom before you send her a PayPal, right? And I think that's also kind of like, okay, society will catch up to know what to do, but a lot of people are still like thinking of the old things where, my voice is my passport. And so, yeah, I know John's voice. I nursed him since he was a child to change his diapers. I know what he would sound like a mile away, and I can't tell the difference between fake Barack Obama and real Barack Obama. And I consider myself kind of expert in this field. And it's just like you could buy any gaming computer that you can buy right now is good enough to like run huge disinformation campaigns. So for a couple $100 or $1,000, you can cause serious havoc, both criminally and socially and all that stuff. And so, we as consumers have to be very cognizant of what's out there and what we're helping propagate too. So,
Well, thank you. Well, again, so you have big platforms, large platforms that actually they live day in, day out. They do have their own AIs. I mean, all the social media platforms, all the large, companies and tech companies, they all have that. But even small companies, even regular business now, they're adopting AIs in their practices and so on and so forth. So it's becoming a lot more, accessible. But to your point, I mean, folks, we have to be aware that this is a real thing, and we have to adjust to the dynamics of having it. and scrutiny is part of it, and there is a risk. There's a lot of fake voices that you can have on a message, and you have these fake images that can come up and populate. They look like you, they sound like you. I mean, I've tested it myself, and I have a few videos that are my AI avatar that looks like me, moves like me, sounds like me, but it's not me. I mean, I test them out. I mean, it's real, and you can use it. Like, actually, I had a series of weekly updates that it was just my avatar, really, with a script, being posted out on my social media, because it was just what the technology is about today. So
Yeah.
there is that, but we just have to be aware of it. And I think, to your point, is you are there's advocacy, there's work to be done to consult and work on how to do this. I mean, you got deep fake stuff now that you cannot even tell a real person than for now. I mean, I just saw a neat trick that if someone talks to you and may use deep fake technology, you just kind of tell them, put fingers to your face. Is that a thing, by the way,
Mm.
that's just
You know,
where
yeah,
well,
it thwarts the cheap stuff, but it won't do anything to the expensive stuff. So like if I'm being hacked by Jimmy down the block, or catfish by Jimmy, that'll work for him, but it won't work if like it's the CIA, right? Or like
well,
someone has serious money to like throw behind the technology. Like uh, you need to get physically in a room with people. And I think, and that's the other part of my business is just like, okay, if human to human contact is like the most valuable part of your company, that's the most protected part of your business that you should do. And so, like, if you're text messaging someone, don't do anything sensitive in text messages because you can't tell if text messages are safe or not. Wait till you see them in person, discuss things. And I think a lot of things are going to be like that, where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm posting on Twitter. I'm just going to post, funny memes and not my children's photos, or not like things that are like data that could get out. And I think if people have better hygiene about these things too, it reduces the risk from these things being used against them.
the funny thing is, so you mentioned social media, and it is sad that some people are volunteering happy birthday, and they have a picture, there's a space, there's a location. I mean, you can get enough videos, enough cuts, and you pretty much put a whole profile on someone just from their postings. I mean, even instant location, everybody checks in where they are. So you open up a can of worms to these things, and there are people that have nothing else to do but sitting behind a computer and just designing these little scams. And I mean, there's money to be made through these things, and it's scary, and it's I mean, with cybersecurity is one of the biggest things now. I mean, if in terms of jobs, it's a big thing, right? I mean, am I getting that correct? It's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
place to be if you want to.
Well, like, there's whole communities of people that like they go to uh influencer videos and they say, oh, the influencer can see the window behind me in the shot, and they figure out on Google Maps where that person lives. So they're like able to like, it's like, okay, there's a McDonald's across the street, and it's across the street from a Best Buy. So show me all of those things that are have sunshine at the time the person was streaming, and then use AI to cut it down to a list of 30 things, and then just go to Google Maps and see which one looks right. And like if you added AI to the last part of that, you can like do that from any video at scale quickly. And so sounds terrifying, right? It's like, well, you don't have to stream online with your window open behind you. So maybe, like you do, put a curtain behind you, or me go in a white room. So, that information is not freely given away. And it's just kind of like hygiene, right? You wouldn't like walk barefoot in the park in some cities. And so, you should treat the internet the same way. People got too comfortable, I think.
Well, they are, and there is that cultural thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
you want to pose, where you are, you're going to show places. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, as an influencer, sometimes you do vlogs and things like that. You have locations that you're promoting, there's collabs and stuff. So I get that. But here's the thing. I think it has different scales, because what's the case? I think you mentioned Kim Kardashian, or the Kardashians. I think she was in Europe or something, and she kind of posted, and I think something got stolen from her. Yeah, I think that
Mm.
story didn't hit the news a couple of years back. So sometimes you get to the point where this, you're maybe she's a big celebrity, and someone. I mean, I have to these guys that did that. I don't know how. stupid they can be, but they did, and it's amazing. But again, if you have something of value of your, you don't want people to really approach you and stuff like that. Obviously, you have to be careful, and there's some safety measures that you have to take. You do it on a personal level, you can do it on digital space, and so on and so forth. So that's the other thing. But nevertheless, the risk is high, and it's only going to get higher, and more available to the wrong people. And as it's available to the wrong people, it's also going to be protected by the right people. Because I think, you mentioned some, like an agency like CIA and others,
Mm,
these people are working diligently, to prevent, any cyber issues and things like that. And these fake AIs and things like, well, not fake, advanced AIs that can be very little. I mean, there's this is they have to be at the highest level of tech, to prevent these things, and that could be a serious thing. But I mean, it's really that's beyond us. But I think your work is to really make a difference and kind of bring in the level of, here's AI, what it can, and there's a human factor to it. But we're gonna get that
mm,
to in a second. So, you know, I'm sorry. So there's a lot of fear actually around AI, especially replacing jobs. Well, I just want to get your perspective on that, because then people are like, "Oh my God," And by the way, there is some reality to it. There are some things that may be easily replaced by an AI, functions. I would say tasks that can be
mm.
done, especially with agentified AI. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I say is if a CEO wants to lay off people, they will lay off people. They don't need AI as a reason to do it. They'll find a reason to do it. And so I think a lot of people who get laid off because of AI may be people trying to get too ahead of the curve and trying to justify a bad quarter and say, oh, yeah, technology made these people redundant. So I think that is a social thing that we should definitely discuss. But it's like, is AI so good that we need less people? I think is still an open question. And back earlier when I said only machines can solve machine problems, I think a lot of the jobs that people do that are human solvable things should remain so, even if the machine could do it perfectly, because a machine would never get in trouble if it did it wrong, or they'll never feel bad about doing it wrong, or they'll never like have a consequence for doing it wrong. So there's certain things that machines do that, yeah, chatbot could do it. Should it do it is like another question, right? And so there's certain jobs, like you don't want a chatbot to give mental health counseling. I strongly believe that. Like, it is a complicated thing, and you need all the experience and expertise of licensed therapists. And so I get the ick really bad from like AI companions and things like that because we don't understand how people work as a society, and why we just because a machine could do it doesn't mean it should do it. And so I think we're gonna do a lot of like find out moments with these technologies where sure it's technically possible AI could do it. Like, they just, I don't know when this will air, but they shut down Sora this week. OpenAI Sora, which was the video generation service that people used, and they mostly used it to do bad things, like make unconsensual videos of people and all that stuff. And they weren't good. They weren't entertaining, and it was very expensive, so they shut it down. So good riddance, a lot of people say. Um, I think a lot of AI is like that right now, where people hear AI and they make a yuck face, and because all these people are positing AI as things it could do, but not what it should do. And no one really knows the value proposition of what it should do. And to me, I think it's like, I don't want AI to make me a movie. I like watching movies made by people. I want AI to give me more time so I can spend more time watching movies. And I think that is like what people are looking for. It's like, if I spend 2 hours a day doing emails, can I do 1 hour a day writing emails and spend an hour in the park with my kids? And I think those are like the value props that people are looking for AI, not like how many less people do I need to run my company with. But it's so expensive to make AI. Those are the deals they have to close to remain profitable and sustainable. So this is kind of like where society is like trying to pump the brakes on an industry that's kind of like desperately trying to not lose as much money as been losing for 5 years.
Well, thank you. Well, it's funny because I think the issue is that uh, adaptation is a key, right? I mean, AI is a tool, and I love what you said. I mean, the, there are some areas that you're never going to replace the human factor, the personality, and the skills. Yes, AI has knowledge, has access to data that is, I mean, I have to say, when you ask, a question, I mean, it just basically searched everything that's available on a topic and can give it to you in a split second. Which, if I had to do that, it's a lot of work for me to do the research and just kind of collate all that information and be able to even reformat it and whatever it is. So there is a level of that, but the people that would adapt to it, will, and industries that will adapt to it, jobs that will adapt to it, I think will be uh, just as efficient, as needed, as available as need be. But you're right. I mean, again, there is a risk, and there's nothing we can do about it. And there is that factor of acceptance. I mean, we've accepted a lot of technology over the years, and I mean, we can even argue the concept of weapons, right, or firearms. Firearms don't kill people; people kill
Mm,
people, right? It's how you use the technology that can be a bad thing, right? Am
yeah.
I getting that picture right?
Yeah, I think you are. When you look at it, like how long has banks have ATM machines, right? And they still have tellers. And why do they still have tellers? Because sometimes you need to go in the bank and figure out why you're overdrawn, or why is your loan doing this, or and you just need a person to figure it out because you're freaking out and the machine is not working for you. So I think like there's gonna be a lot of things where you see AI doing like the intake, like when you register and you sign in. Like one of the best success stories I did. I was working for a company whose contact center is they have a contact center just for their employees, and they're the number one employer in the world. And so their healthcare plan is bigger than health insurance in 13 American states. And so only 200 people pick up the phone for those millions of employees. And they wanted to automate the contact center, and which means everyone only talks to AI. But we found out that the average phone call was 4 minutes long, and of that phone call, 2 minutes was verification and information lookup. So instead of eliminating the contact center, why don't we just AI take the first 2 minutes of the call, automate that, and then the call is 2 minutes long with a person who answers all your questions and leaves you happy. And so those are the kind of scenarios that are like counterintuitive, and you're kind of thinking so far in the problems, like, wow, this phone call costs us $5 a phone call. It's like, well, now it costs 250 a phone call times 200 people times 200 times a day, and it costs that, and no one has to lose their job. And now maybe instead of talking to 200 people a day, we can talk to 150 people a day, and they can leave happier, or they can get more answers done, and they don't call back and try to get someone else or whatever. And so like these are kind of like the counterintuitive things that we need to figure out as a society about AI. It's like, okay, if I can work 5 times faster, what do I do at the time? And the answer isn't make five more times more things. It's to make three things that much better, right? And like when I ship a software application, my version one should be pretty solid versus beta, like all these things that launch today. Like you'll get a new product, and the next day 1.1 already comes out because all the bugs they missed. It's like, well, use AI to spend an extra week to bake it, so you don't have to like put out a bug fix the next day. And once we start thinking about that, I think we'll start settling down about the AI risk and threat, because humans still need to come up with the ideas, and humans need to like pump the brakes and see, whoa, that's not the right way to do, even though it's technically correct. We can't do it because morals and ethics and laws and all the other reasons why we don't do things whenever we want to.
Well, I think there is the fear is maybe we're still in a baby stage. I mean, but people are scared because 10 years, 20 years, I mean, the advancement in this area has been amazingly, rapid and fast, and the capabilities, like even ChatGPT is like what, 5.2 now, and before you know it, it's going to be 6.0, and it's going to
Yep.
be more advanced. And there's just one of them.
Yeah.
There's Cloud, there's Perplexity, there's all these, you know, you know, different types of them, and they all are pretty cool in what they do. And these are the ones we know in public. And I'm sure there's other ones that are used directly by companies that no one is aware of. I mean, you design
Mm.
them, and they're tech, folks that are actually just behind the scenes, building these things and teaching them how to operate. But I love what you said about the duality between, for example, ATM and teller. Listen, I do use the teller and I do use the ATM. Sometimes the ATM is just in and out, but sometimes you want to talk to the human and do few things and transactions that only he or she can do for you. So that's one way. To your point, I mean, I use, like for example, chatbots, and when you go to these sites and you want to like maybe get an assistance, they get you that first stage, but then you know what? I do want to speak to a representative because, they could not pass the understanding. They didn't get the actual comprehension of what really I wanted to. Now, even if they get advanced, you still want to maybe, talk to someone. So to your point, the idea of maybe reducing the time frame, what I call, by doing triage through the AI, that's cool too. So there is definitely that. But like to your point, is more about understanding how we can merge the things and kind of mesh them in the real world without having some dire consequences, right? So now you do talk about AI enhancing human connection. So what what does it actually look like in practice? And by the way, I want to preface that with one thing. I actually created a group on LinkedIn. We still don't have members, but the group is literally has five AIs that actually, that we call it the human AI group, where connection group, whereby literally they're your members of the group, but they're not real. They're AIs that can talk to you, understand you, respond. You give them a few some information, and now every time you have a question about a topic that they're experts in, they can help you. So basically, you have experts that are yours outside of the general, information. So I can see some of that. I can understand a little bit of it. But like when you're talking about human connection, what are you really, how would you define that?
Um, I usually start off with a bit, this may be geeky, but who is a better droid in Star Wars, C-3PO or R2-D2?
Interesting.
Okay, so
Dude, you,
C-3PO,
you 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 went to Star Wars, baby. That's my
okay,
favorite one.
okay, cool. C-3PO could talk. He speaks all the languages in the Empire. Everyone kind of sees him as useless, right? Like he is a pain. He is causing emotional friction. He is saying stuff inappropriately. R2D2 whistles and he gets stuff done. He busts them out. He saves stuff. He's hacking the thing. He's flying in the spaceship, and all he does is he whistles uh, confidently when he understands what you're doing, and he whistles sad when you're sad, and he whistles happy when you're happy, and that's good enough. And so when people are building agentic experiences, they really want to build like their best friend, or they bring their biases at the table. Like I would used to do workshops for insurance companies. They're like, well, our chatbot needs to be a woman in the age of 40 to 50 and she's from the Midwest. I'm like, why? Like, like do people want to like a talk to a virtual person, or they just want an answer, right? Because they could talk to you, and I think this also eliminates some of the friction of like, will AI replace me? It's like I shouldn't try. Like I should just be able to talk to the website and it shows me the brochure that I want to look at with all the information and the way that I like to read it. And like, or make me a video that's the perfect video and all that thing. And then, if I'm in the bank and I need a crisp $20 bill for a birthday present for a niece, I go and talk to the teller and find me the prettiest $20 bill, which is completely unreasonable business request, but you do it because that's customer service and you want to have a nice business and you want to keep me as a customer, right? And so I think that's kind of like the issue at play here is like, yes, you need to manage cost and run a profitable business. At what point do you start shooting yourself in the foot by like, it's like, okay, uh, we're going to make everyone talk to AI, and if they don't have the ability to speak perfect California English, they're gonna have a hard time, you know, and there's no way to escalate to a person to arbitrate and oh yeah, we shut down all the banks in their area so they can't even walk into a branch. And so this is kind of like the find out moment. It's like, do you want to like run a profitable business, or do you want to run a sustainable business? And so that's the kind of thing I tell my clients, because a lot of the people I work with are small business owners who worked for a big soulless company, and they're like, I want to go out on my own and run it my way. It's like, cool. Then why do you want to go out and then cosplay as a big soulless company with technology? You want to like automate all the stuff that is a pain running on your own when you're wearing all the different hats, but you want to spend 20 minutes on a phone call draining the sea of problems for your clients and making them feel like they're well represented, and that's your competitive advantage. So that's why we say on our website, people make it better, because you can't run a machine that prints money without a person somewhere in the mix. And that may be a surprise to some of the founders and CEOs listening to this on the radio right now, but like if people aren't in the mix, watching and maintaining and like stewarding your droids are just going to do bad, dumb things, and you won't know what happened or where it went or what the problems lie.
Essentially, human factor. remains, human connection remains, and it is the still the core, right? It's not, we cannot dismiss that. I mean, not in the foreseen future, I would say, because and I love the analogy that you gave about see the Star Wars stuff, because first of all, those are like iconic robots, right? And they have characters themselves. But you're right, like, and that's supposed to be a futuristic movie with all the tech and things. These are intergalactic spaceships with all the tech and stuff. But yet, the human factor remains as the relevant, I guess, presence in
Yeah.
those scenes in these movies. But you're right, it is the same in the real world, and your job is to kind of clarify that for companies and business owners and business leaders, to ensure that they're not really in trying to do something that may not work and eventually will just hurt them and hurt the bottom line. Now,
Yeah.
so is that what companies are getting wrong when it comes to AI? I mean, or
Um,
leaders?
and I think it goes back to what we were saying about machines doing machine things, because a lot of times they want to take their entire company and just put it in the blender of AI and have it do what it does. And a lot of people don't know, like people come to me and say, well, how much money can I save with AI labor? And I'm like, well, how do you measure how much labor costs today? Right? Like, what do you know? What do you know? Like, what does a day's worth of work cost you as a company? And they don't know. So you take you don't know and put it into a blender, and it's doing I don't know at 100 times faster than it was before. And maybe it's like 20% of your phone calls end in people canceling their contracts, like because of something bad business choice or decision. I worked with a taco company, and they put a chatbot on Facebook that lets you order tacos, and the quality ratings, the satisfaction ratings were in the toilet. And I was on this phone call for an hour and a half, and I unmuted him like, "What happens when the food's bad, or the food is cold, or doesn't get where it's going? How do they fix that?" And like, no one knew, and it turns out it didn't even have the ability to like fix bad orders. So yeah, if it's bad, it's bad. Like it doesn't matter. Like the experience can be the best experience of the world, and it can be the most eloquent Shakespeare version of C3PO that's very handsome and responsive. And if you can't fix a bad order, it's a bad experience for ordering tacos, right? So
Well, but that is an awesome example, because to your point, yeah, I mean, you can train AI to do a lot of things, but how would they even know? I mean, someone has to tell them, well, the food sucks and this, that, the other, and maybe they'll just acknowledge it based on that, but they still don't understand. I mean, they cannot literally physically see, that the food is mixed up or whatever. I mean, there's a human that's going to have to respond to that and
yeah,
enter the data. And frankly, to your point, it is. That's this is a the big question about all this is like, how do we find that healthy medium, like to be balanced? And I think that's really the balance in automation, and preserving human expertise. That's going to be the question, correct?
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I think there's a lot of things that people do, especially those in information work, that is repetitive and boring and a waste of their time. Like you should never have to talk to a person to find out if the store is open or not, right? Because if you pick up the phone, it's open, and you shouldn't need to find the address and the mailing address and the phone number and stuff that was like, here, let me Google that for you, kind of stuff. But like there's always going to be scenes in the middle of like, given that I'm a single parent of four, which health plan do I pick? Or, like what is the best financial opportunity for me in my investments, or any of these like problem areas that like people need to like, maybe there's no answer. Maybe they're the first person in the world to ever have this question. And so the machine wouldn't be able to answer it. Someone needs to be able to like put that and train and feed the machine so it can handle those things in the future. Like there's new problems every day. And so, if we build systems that are like built on existing data, which AI can only handle existing data, like try asking it yesterday's baseball scores or whatever you want to do, um, there has to be human-led systems to keep it hydrated and fresh and new. And the other end of it's like, if everyone's replaced by AI, who's going to buy stuff? Like, you know, like if the AI companies, like, why would I pay for, Microsoft Office if I didn't have a job to pay for Office? You know what I mean? Like, I won't buy the software because I won't have a job, so I don't need it. So good. good luck automating yourself out of customers, you know?
No,
So
I love that. I'm sorry you made me laugh because you're right. I mean, I mean, it's as simple as that, folks. I mean, I'm just listening and I'm just smirking here because that's true. I mean, if we all are robots, I mean, what's good for us to what are we gonna do? I mean, there have been movies actually that kind of depicted those things. I think there was Surrogate with Bruce Willis. I think one of them. There's
well, like Pixar, right? Like the Wall-E. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
we're
exactly.
all. I mean, I kind of say it like if you're gonna put me on a spaceship in a cruiser or VR, that sounds kind of good right now, but like, it's just kind of like, we need to have bakers and lawyers and candlestick makers and be in a community with people, right? Like those jobs need to stay. We need firefighters and first responders, and like there's always going to be work to be done. It's just what do we value as society as the work that has to be done? You know, I would
Well, I
rather
think
I would rather my school district pay teachers more than get AI software for the teachers just so they could teach more people, so.
again, I say this, the idea of AI is a tool, an assistant, that can get the job faster, more efficient in certain areas, but the humans have to be behind it. It can be literally, I mean, I put articles about this or like posts about this. It's really side by side, it's not and is still controlled by the human factor because I mean at the end it is still powered by electricity and energy. You put the plug off and the AI doesn't exist, right? You have no
Right.
wi-fi and it's gone. So there is that. And even robots, right? So because we are coming to the age of robotics now, that advanced robotics, I mean we see more and more advanced like droids that are humanoids in a way, and they can do functions that are like very advanced, but at the end of the day, they're still what they are. They can certainly do some functions. I mean, listen, if in the context of lifting, big stuff and moving things around, yeah, robots, robotics can do a good job, and we've been using robots for quite a while now. I've even seen robotic bars and coffee bars where you can actually get your request through a screen, and then you have this machine arm that actually makes your coffee or your favorite beverage, right? So I've seen that. Like, I was on one of the cruise ships, and they do have an actual uh, robotic bar, basically. So it's you put your request and whatever mixer you want, they'll give it to you, and it's pretty cool. It kind of shakes things. You want like a James Bond, drink, you'll get one, right? So it's funny. But so now let me ask you a question. There's something that's maybe very interesting, which is the healthcare world, right? There's augmented reality, there's some robotic, surgeries that's being done now. What do you see the role of AI in the healthcare field and operational systems moving forward in general?
I think it comes down to the inform versus operate thing that we were kind of talking about earlier. It's like, do I want a human surgeon doing open heart surgery on me or a loved one or AI? I want a person, right? Like I don't but do I want a robot calling balls and strikes at a baseball game or an umpire? Well, it depends if the calls are going for me or against me, right? And I think that's the kind of like story behind all use of technology is like if it's fair and equivalent and faster, by all means do it. But until we know for sure, we should uh, look and see. Like I don't want like if I have to call for insurance and justify my need for a medical visit to an AI, that's a net negative experience for me. Like I want to go to a doctor and I want to be evaluated fairly versus like not knowing the right words to tell the machine to get an appointment. And I think those situations are happening all over where it's just like if I call or I go to a website and there's rules before they allow me to talk to a person, and there's no way to talk to a person without doing those rules, then that's not a fair system, right? Because just because you didn't say the magic words in the right order, you should not be reduced access versus people who know how to use the right commands. And so when people say like, "Oh, they're using AI wrong," I challenge that and say, "Well, you know everything, so you should know what I meant when I said it wrong." Like that's not my fault. There should be no functional way to use AI wrong, unless I'm just speaking in tongues, right? Because you should be able to figure out what I mean because I'm doing my best to give you the context. Is just like when I'm at the grocery store and I'm like, where do I find that stuff that you use to put in cakes? Oh, baking soda. Like that kind of like jogging your memory, and the person knows food, and that's 99% of human interactions is like, what's the thing to do the thing? And so if AI can't do that, then why are we even having a conversation?
First thing or the second thing, right? It's like in the movie, right? Which thing, which thing you're referring to, the first one or
Sure.
the second one? Well, so here's the thing, right? Leaders listening, right? I mean, CEOs, business, folks now. What would be the first smart step really to adopt AI without overcomplicating it? I mean, because I think small businesses may not be as adept to it yet, but they are
Hmm.
getting there, and because they don't have the, I guess, the maybe the capital or the resources
Mm.
to overhire, so they're looking at stuff. I mean, I can speak for myself. I mean, I use a lot of AI to assist me with certain functions that normally I would prefer a person to do, right? But certainly it's the speed, the accuracy, maybe the efficiency is there, so I can do it. But is it sometimes frustrating? Yeah, because you have to repeat yourself. It's not always
Mm.
accurate. You got to tell it. You need to know exactly what you're asking AI, because that's the other thing. If you ask the wrong information or you don't know how to prompt properly, you're just gonna get the worst responses. And by the way, I tested a lot of the AIs, and some of them they're like still like baby infant stage. I mean, they're not really advanced where they can actually understand things the way they should. But like, what is the advice you have for business owners, CEOs, and leaders right now? Just how would you have them operate with AI?
So I think the one thing you got to keep in mind is that whenever you hire a person, whether they're 16 or 80, that is all training that you get for free. So that person knows how to be in the world and understand things and solve problems. And a lot of AI out of the box, you have to tell what's important. Like it doesn't know, it just knows kind of like what the shape of the world is, but doesn't know the way you like it. And if the way you like it is very, very particular, AI may be something that's limited use to you in the short run. Um, what you need to do is kind of like make a list of all your problems, and I think every founder and CEO should know how their company works from top to bottom, or know the people who do, and look for opportunities to reduce friction between let's call them modalities, right? Like if you look at the org chart, you have like the contact center and you have the sales department and all that. There's natural friction that occurs there. And so how can you bridge those gaps and make how do we keep like our records of internal documents updated so we know that the president of the United States is Donald Trump and not Joe Biden still, and keep things current and make sure everyone's using the same business reports. And so those are the things that like AI should be good at, computers are good at, which is kind of like sorting and filing and making sure data is consistent and all that. And once you're in that state, then you can start playing around with these other things, which are like depends situations, because you need to have that stable foundation of rock hard, solid, not fake data. So we know like, okay, all this data is vetted and safe and secure. And given that, how do I solve these problems? And then you won't run into things like hallucinations and slop and bad answers and stuff. And then people need to read that before you send it out to a person to verify that's still true. And once you have that in place, then you can start messing with AI, which is like not what they're selling. They're saying like if you just pay for ChatGPT, that it does all of this, and it does none of that. And so a lot of the times I talk my clients out of AI entirely because they're just not comfortable with that, or they have such a good rapport in their 3 people company or their 10 people company that they'll just say, "Hey Judy, what do you think?" And they get the answer they want, and they don't need to like do all that orchestration of AI and pay the hundreds of dollars a month.
Well, thank you for that. And so now let's talk about this. Like, I mean, 3, 5 years from now, what would be the conversational AI really like in your mind and expertise?
I think like the demo that they stopped showing, which is kind of like the messy demo, which is like the morning rundown. And if conversational AI could get to this point where it's like, okay, what do I got to do next? It's like, well, you got to projects X, Y, and Z, and 10 o'clock, you got to have lunch with Billy, and 4 o'clock is soccer game with the kids. And then you should be able to say, well, can I get an hour of at the gym in there? And those are the kind of like weird, stateful, like planning, execution management of time things that have to happen for AI to be a functional part of society, I guess. Because until then, it's going to be just distraction and more noise. Like, I have my phone call going off every 5 seconds from telemarketers and text messages from my mom, and I'm following Twitter and Instagram of all these noise about like I need some sort of like if I'm going to be a cyborg, I can't be connected 100% to the information superhighway all day or I'll go insane. And I think people are going insane, right? Like if you look at the landscape of the world, like people are just go touch grass, like they are online and hooked in too much, and we need to fix that. And I think doing that as a company is also a good strategy too, because it's like, why are you paying all these people to do work and then make them make four separate versions of the report for different audiences? Like, oh, you got to make a PowerPoint and an Excel and a website and a video. And just like, why isn't it, let AI convert the format into the different things and they just do the work, right? So I think those are
Yeah,
the
yeah.
opportunities.
Well, no, thank you. And it's funny you said all that because again, I love it. I mean, well, by the way, I admire your approach to this because you were like creating this bridge between the two worlds and kind of know how to navigate and kind of make it very seamless to operate in both worlds. So the humans and the AI can coexist in a pretty easy way, and it's not overwhelming for people to adopt and really start utilizing, AI correctly. So that brings me to the question. Your company, uh, am I going to pronounce it if I misplay
Yeah,
miss?
yeah,
So I'm gonna. Why don't you tell us the name? I mean,
sure. Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna give it a shot.
So,
But go ahead.
so my company is Toilville,
All right.
because I feel like a lot of work is work for work's sake, and I don't mean that as like a pejorative. Like I think it's kind of like when you're a chef in a kitchen and you have your kitchen set up to cook. That's what your workplace should be like. So you know that my spoons are here and everything's clean and ready to go, and that's the kind of workplace that we have. So like, you go to my website, and my website, I have a designer, a person who actually designs stuff with pen and paper into a computer, and it does the graphics on the website. And I have an engineer who works with coding agents, and we build the website, and I'm product, and we kind of design what we want to do, and it looks like we want to do it. It says what I want to say, and I write what it says. And I'm probably the only AI company in the world that doesn't have AI generated text on their website. And the reason I do this because I like writing. And like I don't want to automate the thing I like to do. I want to automate the stuff I don't like to do, which is like find out what emails to respond to and prioritize the jobs to be done so I don't get distracted by this or that. And I only have one calendar and it unifies all my other calendars automatically. So I don't have my phone doesn't ring and then my watch goes off and then the computer beeps. So I just have one thing that beeps. And that helps me in my day. And I think that is kind of like a better way to do things versus less technology. Um, where I control it at my level. So Slack doesn't go, if Slack goes down, our company doesn't go down, right? Because we're not on Slack. And if email goes down, we have four other channels and it wraps around it. And I think that's kind of like the way to do it where we don't, and of course, I'm on the West Coast of the United States and my developers on the East Coast of the United States and my designers in Finland. And so maybe there's an hour a day where we're all up and we're fine. Like we have the meeting and we're just kind of like, hey, do this for me when you get to it, or hey, I need this by Tuesday, and it just happens. And we usually work 4-day weeks, as a group because it's like if the works week is done by Thursday, the world is not more work; it's long weekend. So
Well, I like the concept, and actually, that's a good model to actually adopt. So, folks, if you're watching and listening, and you want to kind of build your own little, place, this is a very good way to create that opportunity. So Peter has a good format there that I think a lot of people would probably envy, and I know there's some places around the world that actually are interested in kind of creating that concept that we just talked about right now with Peter. Let me just say this. This world that we live in right now is changing. I would say hopefully for the better. There's always some crazy stuff going on, but let's just be clear about one thing. AI is part of it. AI will not go anywhere. I think as long as we have power, energy, and the Wi-Fi and the will to create some technology to assist us in our day-to-day lives. I think AI is going to be just the place to be and the entity to seek. So, Peter, now your clients, who are they, and is there a particular pool that you target specifically? How do we get people to you?
Um, I think the best way to get a hold of us, we have a vanity website called peoplemakeitbetter.com. And so the best way is to kind of log in there and get hooked up. Um, but usually, like people get a hold of me via LinkedIn, or they email me, or they find me from podcasts like this. And I usually try to respond to everyone, even if it's not a business thing. And I think the reason why you want to do that is because I learn everything from every interaction. And that's the other thing you lose when you automate stuff is like someone's going to ask you a question that you've never thought of before, and you'll find a gap in your thinking that doesn't apply to them. And so when you say that, like, oh, Peter, you're able to kind of connect these two things because I've talked to enough people where it seems like I've bridged the gap, but there's gaps even in the gaps. And so I think that's the most important thing you could do as a business person is kind of like constantly being on the lookout for either opportunities or holes in your story, because those are like unmet people that you need to reconcile.
All right. Well. Listen, Peter. I know it's the top of the hour. I know you just relocated, so that means you got you getting ready for some other action here. So I do appreciate the time that you've had with us and sharing a lot of this human AI interaction, which is a big question in this modern world today. I think a lot of people can benefit from the discussion, at least to understand how to maneuver and operate with the AI being part of our lives. And so thank you for that. Anything you want to leave our audiences with before we close our show today?
No, just go back. My grandma always said that the only way to be street smart is always say no. So like understand what you say yes to when you use stuff. And there's no reason to use AI if you can't think of a reason to use AI.
And that's it, folks. I think we'll take that to the bank. Um, you know, Peter, thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate you and the insights you've given us. And folks, this is the end of the show. Hope you've learned a few things here and how to enjoy the world with AI or without it. It depends on how you look at it. And
Yeah.
also, the resources available. So if anybody needs to kind of figure this out, let's connect with Peter and see what how you can make this happen. I'll have the description in the description show his link, so obviously it's easy to connect with him directly. And that's about it. That being said, I'm American Age. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Bye for now.